This is Hunt Nebraska, the official podcast for insight into Nebraska's hunting and shooting sports community. Be sure to give us a follow on Facebook, our space for sharing stories, information, tips, and techniques. Now, Hunt Nebraska. And a good day, I guess. I don't know if we're listening to us in the morning, in the afternoon, the evening, staying up on an airplane.
We're listening to us.
Yeah.
When are we listening to us?
Exactly. Well, thanks for inviting us along on your trips this summer. Welcome back to the Hunt Nebraska cabin. We've got a full cabin. Once again, the Jeff Ronson right over there. Kayla on master control, pushing the buttons, making the dials glow and all that sorts of stuff. We've got in studio from our good partners of the National Wild Turkey Federation. We've got one Michael Addison and me, Hershey. Hunt Nebraska regulars, I guess, for the most part. Not the first time we've been here. First time we've been in here since the off season. And just a quick moment of silence because we are officially in the off season. All right, that's
all right. Yeah. That was tough.
It was tough. It was, but now we are in the planning season. We've got a plan for next year. In fact, folks, if you haven't already seen it, the big game guides are out. They've been online for a while now, and the hard copies are now available at your favorite licensing vendor or partners out there. We appreciate those folks. Grab a hold of it, because if you're listening to our voice right now, it's either time to plan if you want to chase mule deer here in the state of Nebraska, put in for pronghorn or elk. You're going to have that guide to do it. In fact, if you waited a little bit and we don't get this posted right away, it might be application period open. Why that opens, Jeff, remind me, June 12th, I believe, is the
next
date
week, which
for
is,
most of us. I know there's been some landowner elk and things going on there, but check that out. You're going to want to get a hold of that. We're going to talk about this here in a little bit because it is kind of exciting. It kind of gets you, thinking at least this early in June about the hunting seasons. It's never too early to start preparing for it.
Oh, we're always prepping.
Hunting season.
We're always prepping.
Scheming?
We're always scheming.
Well, there you go. And
Plotting.
Some changes there that you're going to want to take a peek at. So make sure you grab a hold of it. It's got a beautiful herd of elk right there. I mean, who of us hasn't dreamed about seeing a
look
group
at that
of elk
bull
like
on the
that?
left. Does that not just scream beautiful old Nebraska bull?
See, the fun thing is if you put that picture online and say, should I shoot it? There'd be people that would actually shoot it, but tell you, I'd let them grow another 10, 15 years.
Yeah.
Sure you would.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So anyway, with that in mind, it's time for our beginning of the off-season pop quiz.
Oh, I hate quizzes.
We knew we were going to sit down in the cabin because we knew we were going to all be here today, folks, but we really didn't know what we were going to talk about. There's a lot of different things going on, but we're often distracted right now by some summer camps. You guys all went to summer camp growing up? For a couple of you, just a few years ago.
It was a big deal.
For a couple of the rest of us, a couple decades ago.
Yeah, well, I was camp counselor for a number of years as well when I worked for the City Parks and Rec as a naturalist. And we pioneered the wilderness camp, summer camps program. And I don't remember what year it was, but it was many of those ago. But it was cool. I mean, we had one of the cooler camps out there. Remember as a kid going to camp in Scouts, we did summer camp.
Oh, yeah.
Oh my God, you won't forget those days. It was cool. No. It was cool. Learned a lot.
Kayla, Michael, did you guys ever make your summer camp?
Every summer.
Where'd you go?
Mainly Halsey.
Oh, you're one
4-H
of those
camps
kids.
out there.
Did you go to one of our skills camps?
Probably, yeah.
So you were we've met you before, we don't even know it. Well, you would remember us. Come on now.
It was a long time ago.
Just say maybe.
Probably sat there.
How do I forget?
Oh, I hope I don't see him ever again. Oh, little does she
What are
know.
the chances?
What are the chances?
I'm liking you, Michael Addison. Really liking you.
What about you, Michael?
Usually summers were spent out, for me, Bible school, and then also usually out on the farm. So that was babysitting, was out at grandma's and grandpa's on the farm. So didn't really grow up going to summer camp. Summer camp was out on the farm helping grandma and grandpa doing stuff.
It's kind of like summer camp.
In
a
a
lot of
sense, it
learning.
could be.
You're
lot of
outdoors, you're
learning.
sweating. It's like summer camp.
There's still hope for you, Michael, because I do know that the staff here at the Outdoor Education Center, soon to be renamed, perhaps.
Perhaps.
What might, just give us a glimpse. What might
Well,
be a name?
You know, obviously, we are taking to the commission meeting a request this week. So depending on when you're listening to this or not, a request to rename the Nebraska Outdoor Education Center to the Turpin Outdoor Education Center in honor of legendary outdoor education specialist, outdoor educator, hunter education coordinator, game warden, chief of law enforcement for Nebraska Game and Parks Commission, legendary and good friend of many of us, Dick Turpin.
Good man. Sorely
Truer
missed.
words were never said.
Exactly. But, folks, we are gearing up. The staff's being trained for summer camp right now as we speak, just not too far away from the old Hunt Nebraska cabin. So, hey, if you got some youngsters or know some that would have some fun, might be a spot or two left, and we've got some adult programs going on to get you ready for the hunting and shooting season ahead of us. So we put together this quiz. Now, this quiz is not necessarily a fair quiz because there are no necessarily wrong answers, folks. We got 10 questions, and the answers are pretty much one word, though you might have to add a description of why in some. There are no wrong answers, Michael, but there definitely could be some bad answers.
I like how you look at me when you say that.
Well, I'm just letting
I
everybody
don't
know.
see you in that light. I just want you to know that, Michael.
I appreciate that, Jeff.
And to frame it just a little bit, a few of us have a little extra time in the great state of Nebraska to answer these questions than others do in this respect. So I'm just kind of buffering it right there.
Thank you.
All right. So, but just to give us a mindset, because like we said, now is the time to prepare. Now is the time to start dreaming a little bit about the seasons that are coming up this summer, this fall, and into winter. And with the big game guide going on, you got to start planning right now. So we got 10 easy, quick questions right here. 10 of them.
Quick for some.
Quick for some. That's right. Kayla, how long did it take you to fill this out?
2 seconds.
2 seconds. 2 seconds. Jeff, I see you've got some blanks there yet. So
I could go either way.
okay. All right. All right, as long as you stick to it. Stick to it. We're going to go, I think, right down the list here, folks. This is going to be educational because these are kind of what if or what is type questions, pretty specific. And we're going to start right here because here in the state of Nebraska, our most popular thing to hunt is
Deer.
deer.
Deer is king.
By far. So we ask, besides deer, the game all hunters should pursue this fall is what? What would you say is the one thing they should, since you went so fast, what did you put in there?
Pheasants.
Pheasants. Oh, nice. Why'd you choose pheasants?
I think it's a good game to pursue. Fun. Get outdoors. Group hunting. You can go with all your buddies, your friends. It's easy to get others out, and you don't need a lot of stuff.
Well, there you go. It's very active, too.
Very active.
Very active. Walking. Jeff, what'd you?
Well,
I see it's blank, but what are you going to put in
I
there?
used invisible ink, so you're not going to be able to read it. But I wrote squirrels, and the reason I wrote squirrels is it's one of the more ultimate game animals you can pursue in the great state of Nebraska during those minor off seasons throughout the fall, for example. Get out with a 22 pistol, 22 rifle. Squirrel hunting can be as technical as you want it to be.
And one of the earliest opening season dates, correct?
Yep. We're starting squirrels August 1st here in the great state of Nebraska.
So basically less than 2 months away.
It's what
wow.
ushers us back into the hunting season. And some people, we have friends that go out August 1, they're out in the field. It doesn't need to be. I mean, you can wait till the first freeze. You can wait till it just gets cooler. Those cool mornings at the beginning of September, where those mornings are in the 60s, 50s, are just incredibly fun for squirrels. But I can tell you right now, hunters like challenges, and squirrels will challenge you, but they will also make you a better hunter come deer season.
There you go. All right. Michael, what'd you put down?
Well, not to be ironic with the organization I work for, but I did put fall turkeys. Because, because
smart move, Michael Addison. Smart move.
Because fall turkey hunting is a great opportunity to scout ahead for the spring. You can scout for deer while you're out there, and you'll also, if you find a big flock while you're out fall turkey hunting, you'll hear a wide range of turkey vocalizations, and you can just sit there and talk to them and work on your calling while you're out in the field. And so it's a great way to get out there and scout for the season ahead, scout for some other hunting you'll be doing later on in the year, and to just learn more about turkeys. I think it's probably the one season where you can learn the most about turkey vocalizations and turkey interactions, more than maybe you would in the spring when you're just chasing an individual gobbler whenever you can find a whole flock.
They definitely get vocal, especially in those bigger and bigger and bigger flocks that they run around in. Lots of fun, probably underutilized in a lot of parts of the state nowadays. A lot of different things to choose from. I really struggled to go with either rabbit, because there actually been good numbers of rabbits. And you can hunt those in a lot of different ways. You can hunt them like pheasants, kick them up, and as they're running past, use the shotgun as they're moving. You can stalk them with the rimfire rifles and get in some of that training or what I want to say, skill building with that, if you'd like to do that with the big game. But I'm going to go instead with something that we've got a lot of, more than we probably have in some time. And I think this is going to be not only a popular one, but one people forget about, and that's chasing raccoons. Call them in. Get out there, enjoy that resource while we have it. The numbers are quite high, as folks can see, but it's also one of those that's just kind of a little bit different. Again, you got to have some woodmanship in there. You got to have some shooting skills, but you also get the fun of, like we do in the spring turkey season, is calling those critters in at times. So I'm going with raccoons, but all good ideas. So this is off to a great start. But the biggest take home there, folks, is don't just put all your eggs in one basket. Don't just be a deer hunter. I would say. Diversify. Have fun.
I could not agree more.
And build some deer hunting skills while you chase some of these other critters. All right, number 2. We're going to write down the list, I think. Jeff, the primary hunting skill you will work on this offseason is...
Long-range pistol.
What's that?
Long-range pistol.
When you say long range, kind of help us out, because we've probably got some rifle hunters saying, I shoot out to 500-600 yards.
Yeah, well,
what's that
for
with the
pistol hunters, it's a little different. But for revolvers, I'm working on my 50 to 100 yard shots, and for my single shot pistols, working on to my 200 plus yard shots. Yeah, and did really well last year on those. But for me, handgunning is something that if you don't stay on and just shoot a lot of, you'll lose that. And so this year, I'm going to put a little more practice into that.
There you go, folks.
It's easy to hit the targets at 25 yards, and that's where most of my deer harvests with handguns are, that 25 to 50. Working on those a little further.
You started doing more hunting out in the wide opens.
Yes, we have.
Of Nebraska.
That's changed a little bit for us.
And so it's just more likely to encounter a deer or a critter out at that distance. What do you put down, Michael?
I put down scouting. It's something you can always work on, always improve.
Amen.
Specifically for me, e-scouting, using things like OnX. Utilizing more of that, looking for cover, pinch points for deer, hard masts, things like that. Just using
I'm
that
with
too.
you. My goodness, if there's one secret, folks, to hunting and consistently being successful while you're hunting, it's scouting.
Yep.
Knowing where the critters are, when they're going to be there, all that type of stuff. But I'm amazed. I'm blown away. I've got OnX on the phone as well, and they're not sponsoring us or anything, but really common. I do not use that to near its full potential. Maybe I probably use it like 20% of what it can actually
and I haven't for a long time, because back home I have my spot out at the farm. Well, I've hunted out at that farm for 15, 20 years, and I've know everything out there that I need. But now that I've moved to a new state, had some experience hunting some public ground here this spring in Nebraska, I've started utilizing a little bit more, and you just realize all the neat things you can do with an app like that, whether it's OnX, Hunt Stand, any of those apps. Trying to improve my scouting and utilize some technology a little more to get better at it and learn the new state that I'm in. So
there you go. Idea. That's an awesome one. The thought I had in my mind, scouting definitely crossed my mind, because that's always a good thing to work on, and some building endurance and all that, because we're getting to that midlife right now that, got a little extra weight to carry around, so I got to be in better shape so I can get it in and out of the field. But there's got to be a new shotgun in my future, so it's got to be some shotgunning. I need to shoot more, and just, hey, I didn't do too bad last year, but I know I can do better with the wing shooting. So I'm hitting the Sporting Clays range, the skeet fields, and that type of stuff. What about you, Kayla?
Archery.
Oh, that's another one. I got to shoot more archery.
Yep. So I'm a rifle girl at heart, and archery does not come naturally. So
folks, if you have seen how this gal can shoot a bow and arrow, you will know that
not much need
for
work, let's put it that way.
You've set the bar really high for yourself. I mean, for me, it's just like, all right, I want to hit, on a 3D target, I want to hit the 10 ring or maybe the 8. I want to average at least right in there. Kayla is like, if she's not Robin Hood every third or fourth arrow.
At some point, all you're doing is breaking arrows. I mean, if you get giddy on breaking arrows, that's up to you. But at some point, it just gets costly to be great. Ask me how I know. I've been to the range and I've watched some great shooters. It's
great and modest Jeff Rawlinson,
Just saying,
everyone.
just saying. So
Shooting is definitely a theme. Scouting, I love, but folks, now's the time to shoot before it gets real hot in the middle of summer. Don't put it off. I think that's one of the things we all run into, though, isn't it? Turkey season just ended. Hunting season's so far away, and I got so many other things I want to do and need to get done.
It's time to
and all
go
that.
fishing.
And you kind of
that
just
darn fishing
you
gets
kind of
in the way,
like
doesn't it?
keep pushing it back, keep pushing it, and then all of a sudden it's just like it's time to go. We got to roll, and I can't make it out to the range because now it's getting darker earlier. I can't get to there, so make sure you knock those things out just as early as you can go. All right, looking back at the spring turkey season, our number 3 question has the biggest thing I learned turkey hunting this spring was, Michael, what is the biggest thing you learned?
So I was limited to one word in this answer.
Humility.
By your yes, humility, of course. An excellent example. I put preparedness, but there's a little more to that. I did some in-season scouting at a local WMA, and did not take my shotgun with me this particular evening.
Even a 10-year-old will tell you. Always take. In fact, a 10-year-old did tell me.
Well, I was going to say, we can share your experience with this in a moment, Jeff. But I did not take my shotgun, and I was standing there in a nice little open clearing, listening, and I turn around, and there's a gobbler at about 30 yards behind me, just out of nowhere. And if I had had my shotgun, I could have knocked him dead. But since, of course, being from Missouri, I don't think about taking my shotgun into the field after 1 o'clock because it's not allowed. So it's just in my mind, like, I'm going out at 7 o'clock to go do a little roosting, scouting, and so no, I won't take my shotgun. But of course, in Nebraska, you can hunt all day. So.
They don't allow you to hunt after 1 in Missouri.
Nope. Turkey season cuts off at 1 o'clock in Missouri.
Silly little laws.
Yeah,
Oh, that's
So I just wasn't in my mind.
Silly
And
little laws.
so next year I'll be a little more prepared if I choose to do some in season scouting.
And folks, that 1 p.m. cutoff for spring turkey in Missouri, I know early on I was thinking that's silly. That's insane. Why would you take away that much hunting opportunity? Now that I'm a little bit more experienced and thinking, boy, a nap doesn't sound too bad. I wish at one time Nebraska we need to come up with between like 12:30 and 2:30, no turkey hunting at all. But you can come back in the afternoon after that if you want to.
Mandatory nap time.
Exactly. So Jeff, what did you put down? What did you learn?
It was a moment, just a realization, really, that just hit me right in the head, and that was that you can be the best turkey caller in the world, but if the turkeys aren't going to come in, they're just not going to come in. I learned that.
You learned that.
I learned
you
that.
learned that.
Thank you.
What was that about humility, Jeff?
I did not learn humility this year. Last year I learned humility, but that was a year ago.
So
This year I
Kyler's
didn't.
really turning on he's figured out that box call or slate. Is that
You can hunt with the best turkey caller. I have to be honest with you. When we first started hunting, Kyler, a young man that I take hunting with now and then, he'd get out that box call, and I mean, it was okay, but it needed a little work. But now I can just fall asleep because Kyler, he knows when to call, and he gets out and I'm like, that's good, that's real good. I don't even hardly call anymore. I just almost doze. In fact, I do doze off. In fact, I had a mishap dozing off here this year. Dozed off, had a dream, thought I was getting attacked by a chainsaw. It's a long story.
yes.
Needless to say, I kicked out and hurt my legs. So, yes, I'm probably the only hunter that injured himself while turkey hunting while sleeping.
Being chased by imaginary chainsaws.
Oh,
Jeff's out here in the
They'll
blind.
get you.
Jeff's out here in the blind. He's watching Texas Chainsaw Massacre in his head while he's dreaming.
Just a reminder to all those in the Hunt Nebraska cabin, we are recording this for others to listen to. So if you got any comments about that, write them down. If you know a good therapist, that might be helpful too. Send the link right to us.
I'm marking down an injury sleeping. Who'd have thought?
Kayla, what do you got?
I have to go out more.
I'm with you. I am with you. I put that one down as well. Did it seem like this spring just flew by? I mean, it seemed like we
It
snuck
blew
from
by.
work
It blew
and
by
With the wind.
with the wind.
I've always told people if you have very few friends, you didn't get invited to many parties. And I don't know what happened, but we had a lot of parties we had to go through, graduation in particular, that kind of ate into the time as well. But it went fast, way too fast.
Yeah.
Get out more, and that's exactly right. And if your hunting partners aren't wanting to go, find some other hunting partners from time to time, because it can be a lot of fun. It was an interesting season to say the least, but you got to get out more. All right, Jeff, number 4. If you only had one cartridge for Nebraska big game, it should be.
Yeah, that was the toughest question I've ever had in my life. Like picking a favorite child, which I can.
That's why you only had one.
Yeah, I can easily do. Going back to being a handgun hunter, there's one cartridge that I think is the upper echelon of all handgun hunting cartridges.
Now, remember, we got to frame this. Deer, both white-tailed mule deer, pronghorn,
all big game,
and potentially bighorn.
Yep, that'd be the 454 Casull.
454 Casull.
Yep, in a single action revolver. Yep. Wow. It'd be a single action revolver and 454, so you can hunt anything in the world with that cartridge, and you can hunt any game animal in Nebraska with aplomb with that cartridge.
What's the grain weight on that?
You're looking at a 250 grain bullet, and out of that particular cartridge, like a 44 mag, that level of bullet would be about 13, 50, something like that, feet per second. In the 454, you're looking at you can get that out to 1,800 feet per second, and so or you can download it to 44 Magnum levels and go hunt deer, and so which I loaded up and down for different applications over the years, and so I can tell you it's a heck of a cartridge. Do anything, but I just think it's the workhorse. It's the do-all cartridge.
454 Casull. Kayla?
I have the 30-06.
30-06.
Who could argue with that?
Nobody.
No, I'm not saying.
Discussion over. Moving on.
Now, which is really interesting, because if I remember correctly in our podcast, folks, you're going to want to check out the best Nebraska deer hunting rifle caliber. You voted for the 270 against the 30-06, but because we have elk in there, you went with the tried and true.
Circumstances have changed.
Do tell. Because I think I was aspiring for the 30-06, and I think you were the tiebreaker.
I was the heartbreaker.
You were the heartbreaker.
The heartbreaker's right.
And now you go 30-06. Now what has changed?
It's a quiz. I wanted to make sure I got the answer correct.
So you just did that earlier to thwart the right. Oh my gosh. There's no friends here.
So I'm going to go with the 270 Winchester, just because, boy, big game is such a almost misnomer. You've got stuff as small and thin skinned like an antelope. Those pronghorn aren't terribly big compared to some of the other big game out there. And a 270 is not going to be too much for them by any means. But when you get all the way up to our big elk, and folks, Nebraska elk, if you haven't seen pictures of it, and I know a lot of you have, they are big. I was talking to some folks from out west, and they were bragging about the areas they hunt pretty good. My goodness, we get some 300-inch plus critters, and in Nebraska, I don't think they get harvested very often until they hit right around that 380, 90, 400-inch of antler, which is just huge. And a 270 is still a legal cartridge here in the state of Nebraska, and it's taken a good number of them. So I thought I'd go with a 270 Winchester. Michael, now this is a tough one, I know, because it's Nebraska big game. We've got a couple extra options that you might not have had just a couple months ago.
Yeah, so I went with 25-06 Remington. Ooh, is what I went with.
Hard to argue that.
It's a good one.
It's a good one. It's still got plenty of power for those knockdown shots for that bigger game, but it's also kind of a little bit flatter shooting, a little bit longer range maybe than your traditional deer rifle in the woods. So you can get out there, hunt anything from deer to probably take an elk at a pretty good range with it, or even coyotes if you want to go shoot coyotes with it. It's a good coyote cartridge too. So
yeah, no, that's hard to argue with that. I know I took myself out of the elk contention with a handgun cartridge. Not that it's not powerful enough. Of course, elk die with 454, 44 all over the country. Just Nebraska doesn't allow handguns for elk, but hard to argue that one. That's a good cartridge there.
There you go. All right, Michael. Question number 5 out of 10. The type of hunting I will do more this season isn't, and I asked you guys to be specific on this. So what would be the type of hunting you're going to do more this season?
That I'm going to do more of? Don't know that I can guarantee what I'm going to do more of, but what I'd like to do more of would be pheasant and quail. What I'd like to do more of. I haven't done it very much, and whenever I've been able to do it, I've really enjoyed it. So I know Nebraska's got,
We do.
opportunity out there for it, much more so than back home in Northwest Missouri. So I'd like to get out and do some more of that at some point.
That's a good one. Kayla, what did you put down?
I have the same one, Upland, but more so because my dog's getting a little older. He's 3 now, so he's that perfect
Getting
age.
up there.
3-year-old dog, poor guy. Vitamin supplements.
I was going to say if he was a horse, he'd already be out of contention for the Triple Crown.
Past his prime.
Very true.
Yeah.
He's lost that puppy stage where he just runs and runs right past him. So now he's
You want to take advantage of the prime time.
Definitely.
I understand. There we go. I'm with you there.
That's admirable.
Yep. That's fun. It's one of those things that I remember one of my mentors in the Upland game so many long ago, and he's still mentoring a lot of folks. He'd always say, I'd much rather leave my shotgun at home chasing pheasants and quail than my dog. And boy, I can understand that more and more every year. In fact, that kind of impacted mine. But Jeff, what did you put down?
It's easy to leave your shotgun at home. Your shotgun's not standing at the truck, jumping up and down, yelling, take me, take me, take me. So I can understand that.
Depends
if you
on what
leave
model
your dog, you're something wrong.
Depending on what model you take.
Yeah. It'll be waterfowl hunting. We're set up
Wow.
now. I know. Yeah, and it's not. I can sit there and BS. God, I want to squirrel hunt and all this stuff more, and I do. But I know what I'll be doing more hunting of this fall. It's going to be waterfowl hunting.
Realistic.
And it's just effort and futility for me. Yeah, and we've got different blinds set up, and we're ready to go. And we've made some changes for this year. Looking forward to them, really. But it'll be waterfowl hunting.
Good. What do you guys average, like a new blind every year or blind and a
we're
half
kind of
every
getting
year?
there. We add about a blind a year now. We're going on 20 years now, so you can do the math. It's getting ugly. No, we're not that bad.
Folks, he's got blinds for the north wind, south wind, northwest wind, northwest
sunny
winds,
versus cloudy days.
west northwest wind. I mean, you got them all.
Now you're catching on.
All 16 major wind directions.
And
Taking
kitchens
care
and all of them. Kitchens and all of them. That's the main thing, right? We
Getting
make food
bigger.
and everything.
That's pretty
it's
good.
not a waterfowl blind without a kitchen.
Amen. I'm glad you said that because not everybody gets that. But if you can't make food, you're just wasting time.
This is one of the first ones we've kind of all overlapped because mine is goose because
I got a new blind.
Because you got a new blind, yeah. I haven't hunted all of them, Jeff. But all that planning you're doing, I'm hoping pays off for me. But no, I'm kind of the opposite end of the spectrum of you, Kayla, with the pooch. I've got 2 bird dogs. One will be turning 13 here in just a few more weeks, and the other one this October will be 15.
Yep.
And so by the time bird season really rolls around, they're on that upper end. And I know that hunting those big fields and waterways and grassy spots won't be quite at the same pace that it has been. I'll put it that way. And having 2 older dogs and being told that I'm well past the maximum number of bird dogs for our current living situation, our house, and those that share the abode with me. There's not going to be a pup in, being added to the fleet, so to speak, by bird season. And then obviously, even if they wouldn't quite be ready for this year. And if past years have told me when I've been in between bird dogs like this, I tend to find something else to fill it with. And I'll be looking for folks, Kayla, to go bird hunting with because my dogs won't make it that far.
Well, you know where Jaeger lives.
There you go. So that's been waterfowl, and I don't know what it is. The last 2 years in particular, Jeff, I have seen geese everywhere. I mean, everywhere you look. Even this turkey season, you'd be driving down there like, oh, those turkeys. No, it's like 3 geese out in the middle of a field. For the first time ever, I saw geese and turkeys feeding together in the same field. One was strutting for the turkeys and the other for the geese, but they were just intermingling. They've just taken over in a lot of spots. So there's some opportunities out there to chase geese early on in the season as well. So I'm going to take advantage of that as best I can. Moving forward, though, Kayla, the most challenging hunt in Nebraska is, and another one I asked you to be specific on. What is the most challenging hunt you can think of here in the great state of Nebraska?
So I had one answer down, I scratched it out and put grouse instead.
Oh.
That's a fun challenge.
Yep,
That is something we like to do every year, and I can tell you right now, that takes some work. It takes some work. Fun work, but work.
It is. And as our old hunter ed coordinator, Michael Streeter, used to say, bring the binoculars. It is neat getting up in some of those beautiful sandhill areas where you can find both species of prairie grouse, the greater prairie chicken and the sharp-tailed grouse. Sometimes just watching where they fly in and out of helps out. And Jeff, you spend a lot of time in the hills chasing
Well,
grouse.
we'll spend, about 4 days a year out chasing them, but, and we have a great time. The binoculars always, there's very few hunts that I have the binoculars right on the dash on the truck. That when you're out in the sandhills, they're over a rise and it's like, oh, what's that? And big old mule deer buck. Oh, that's cool. Coyote. Or sometimes you can look across, one hill to the next hilltop and on the bare spot see grouse or prairie chickens sitting there. Yeah, and you can sit there and look at the binoculars. Oh, that's cool. We're gonna go hunt that. We'll go hunt that field or hunt that hill. Yeah, and so. It's a challenge. There's no question about it. It's one of the more challenging.
Few
hunts.
spots where you can get to that tip of that peak and look out and see tens of thousands of acres that look very similar, and you know that there's grouse in there somewhere, but they're not evenly divided or anything like that. I also say that prairie grouse are out to kill you. That's one of their defense mechanisms. They don't hide in the grass or hold super duper tight necessarily like quail do. They're out to get you. Just as soon as you get done walking those first 5-10 miles, you get right back to the truck, and there's a flock that flushes just out of range.
Yep.
Just out of range, and they fly, and they get a hill between you that's not that far away. That hill might be 100, 200 yards away, and it just drops.
Now,
and you're thinking, I just have to hike to that hill and just get over the ridge, and I'm in birds.
No.
Nope.
Not even close. Because when they just drop, they deceive you. And they do it on purpose. They're like, I've even watched them look back to make sure I'm watching as they drop behind the hill. And then all of a sudden, you know what happens when they get behind that hill? Veer off to the right about a mile and 3 hills over, and that's where they land.
And 4 miles after you've just gone past that hill, you're thinking, oh, crap, I am done. Yeah. What happens?
Same thing.
Just a little closer, but still out of gun range. They all pop up and they do the exact same thing.
Yep.
They can only. It's interesting. They can only be found in God's country. Sandhills is God's country. For a godless bird to be only found in God's country, it's an interesting conundrum, really. They're just it's interesting.
Oh, there you go.
But,
all right, Jeff, what do you see as the
I gotta think Cape buffalo hunting probably the biggest challenge in the state of Nebraska, because you tell me where you're going to find one. It's going to be a challenge. It's going to be a big challenge. Over the years, I would say. Grouse hunting, not so much the biggest challenge, because to me that's a little more relaxing and we get out. It's a challenge. But I got to say, by and large, the way we do it, we're not, we're the way we hunt mule deer, I think with handguns and all that, I think that's probably one of the biggest challenges.
That's a big challenge.
Up in the Pine Ridge, mule deer hunting in the Sandhills or the Pine Ridge with handgun, I think is a big challenge. And we've proven that time and again. We've proven that for quite a few years.
It's a different hunt, especially for those of us that cut their teeth on whitetails.
Yeah.
They're just completely different terrain.
Can't hunt them the same way.
Completely different way they act across that terrain as well. Their home range is just immensely different, in my opinion, and how they react to hunting pressure and how it's amazing how they can disappear.
They're more like elk. They kind of almost act more like elk than they do whitetail.
Yeah. That's a good point. No, that's a great challenging. So we got 2 different routes there. Upland birds again. I'm seeing a theme here, Kayla. Jaeger the Pooch is definitely influencing the answers to some of this. And then the mule deer out west. All right. And I know this is another tough one, Michael. This is a tricky one for someone that's only been able to, dabble a little bit in spring turkey hunting here in Nebraska so far.
I will say that was a challenge, and seemed like at least finding
This
birds
year.
was not all that easy. Yeah. But I'm gonna take a cop out here and say probably elk hunting, at least for me personally, would be just kind of A, I don't know much about it, and B, some of the terrain up there. If you go hunt in the Pine Ridge or areas like that out west where we're really hilly and lots of buttes and other such difficult terrain that we're not us Missourians are not used to. Hills we're kind of used to, but not those kinds of hills.
Everybody in the Hunt Nebraska cabin that's harvested an elk successfully, raise your hand.
Yeah, exactly right. and I'll tell you this, it could be one of the easier hunts, but not necessarily the case, right? And in Nebraska, people think of Nebraska sometimes, you just got to go sit on a pasture with some hay bales and you'll see them come down. Sometimes that's the case. Sometimes it's that simple. Sometimes the landowner can tell you, sit on a bucket right here and watch that hay bale, and pretty soon there's an elk there. more often than not, it's miles and miles of hiking up big Pine Ridge buttes and timber and calling and glassing, and it's just like a Rocky Mountain big game elk hunt.
Well, and when you get out and it's super early. I mean, just barely sunrise, and you get out there, and all the elk hunters and ranchers will tell you, no, they've already gone into the thick woods already. They're not coming back out. You've got just sometimes when it's warm, when season starts, you've got just a slim window between when shooting hours start 30 minutes before sunrise, and it must like go for 15 minutes because they're a big critter, but they disappear. They know how to get out there. And not to mention that drawing a tag is part of the fun of elk hunting here in Nebraska.
That's true. That's the additional challenge there.
Once in a lifetime permit for most of us for a bull elk tag is pretty impressive. I went a little different direction. This is something I have yet to try, folks. I'm going to be completely honest. But we're talking about how mule deer are quite different than whitetail deer. But to me, the exact opposite of whitetail deer hunting is chasing pronghorn. We call them antelope here in the state of Nebraska. But it's, one of those things.
Been successful.
We have been with the muzzleloader, but I'm going to go that extra step and say with archery equipment.
Ooh.
For residents, it is an unlimited over-the-counter tag that you can get for archery antelope. You get to hunt them in some of the prettiest of areas, especially, it's early season hunt, but out, around Fort Robb and some of those grassland areas, fall can come early. In September, it can just be wonderfully chilly in the morning, hot in the afternoons, but colors starting to change down in the river bottoms where we've got some cottonwoods and stuff, which are few and far between, especially on pronghorn range. But that said, their eyes. I mean, a whitetail believes its nose, right? I mean, it sees you and it stomps and snores to try to get you to where it can smell you and confirm what its eyes see. Pronghorn know exactly every bump, every little tuft of grass where it's supposed to be. Their eyesight is amazing. You can get by with a little bit of wind going the wrong direction, not a lot, but at the same token, they believe their eyes. And they're in the wide open, so you can see all the pronghorn you want to in certain spots. Now, deciding whether you want to go after this group that's 2 miles away or this group that's bigger at 3 or 4 miles away is part of the challenge. And getting within bow range, difficult out in the open. It can be done, and there's a lot of folks that do it. They play the weight game sometimes, but it is a lot of fun. But it's got to be one of the challenges that's available. And sooner or later, I'm going to get back out there, and we're going to chase them with some archery equipment. So that's a good one. All right. Here, Jeff, we're going to start with you, and this is one we're going to get a little deep right here.
Yeah.
And this is one we've got through our conference season and summits and symposiums and all that type of things. Folks, this is one that's important. The greatest threat to hunting in Nebraska right now is...
Not everybody's going to agree with this one on me.
It's hard to choose one, I'm guessing.
It really is, but... you could go all kinds of access, and you could go, habitat loss. It's hard to argue with habitat loss. I mean, habitat loss is probably the biggest number one threat to hunting in any state. But I didn't go that route. I went a little further.
Okay.
And I'm going to say complacency.
Ooh, all
complacency, because we have about 180,000 hunters in the great state of Nebraska. That's a huge voice, but we don't collaborate as 180,000 hunters, right? And if all 180,000 hunters would work with their Nebraska Game and Parks Commission in unison as a team, it would just it'd be incredible. And so, a small percentage, they're members of ducks and turkeys and pheasant organizations, mule deer and whitetails and all these groups. But that's a small percentage, and we need more men and women to become members of these organizations, more men and women to work with their state fish and wildlife agency, volunteer their time, if you will, be involved, be active, be a strong voice, so that the value that hunting provides for the state of Nebraska is maybe better recognized than it is.
Yep, and I'm going to go next because I had apathy, which is really similar word. And it's just kind of like someone else will take care of that problem. Yep. Someone's going to fix it
We're
for
on the same
me.
line then.
And I'll never forget, and this was a long time ago, so I can talk about it. It was a commission meeting where we, at that time, had too many white-tailed deer in a lot of spots. We were getting complaints from landowners, we were getting complaints from insurance companies, we were getting complaints from a lot of places. And a landowner came in and wanted the Game and Parks to do something, make hunters shoot does. And one of the commissioners asked him, well, do you have folks that hunt your ground? Yes, I do. Do you make them shoot does? No, I do not. And it's sometimes we can be our own solution, and we need to be part of that, our own solution. To wait for somebody else to take care of it for us is just a recipe for disaster.
Yeah.
And with that idea that, hey, it'll all work out. Yep. It'll all work the way I want it to work out. Nope, not necessarily, because there's a lot more voices out there than just ours.
And by that statement of work with your agency, there's a lot of armchair biologists out there, right? Mm-hmm. That's not what I'm referring to at all, and I know you're not either, because those folks aren't really maybe helping the cause necessarily, but working with your state fish and wildlife agency, providing good feedback, good input, and being part of the solution to me is powerful. Very powerful.
Kayla, I'm going to wait for our R3 coordinator position here to kind of have the last say on this. So, Kayla, what do you have?
So I have a couple things here.
Two. Wait a sec. We were only allowed one. This was a quick 2 seconds. You filled this out, and you got 2 words in there.
I did. I put modern age, more so leaning towards media usage and time allotment.
Okay.
So not putting the time towards hunting per se, but putting time towards other stuff. Time sitting behind a computer, time sitting behind a TV.
Well, think about it. To find entertainment, we don't have to go very far. We can pull something out of our pockets. We can go sit behind our computer. We can get behind a TV that's smarter than anything we could ever dream about as we were flipping channels, Jeff, growing up, in between channels of snow. But you're right. We're not used to being bored at all. And hunting patience is a huge virtue.
Yep. And unplugging is a huge thing, too. I just went on a huge trip where Clayton and I forced ourselves to unplug. And there were a lot of people on that trip that we would be outside enjoying the views, and they'd be sitting behind us on their phone, tip-tapping away.
Yep.
And
playing Angry Birds.
Yeah.
That's a bad game right there. I'm not going to lie to you. That's a godless game. Godless birds. Hate that game.
That's anyway. A good point. All right. Now, Michael, you sit as the Nebraska R3, which is recruitment, retention, reactivation for hunting and shooting sports here in the state of Nebraska. But like I said, you only get a word. And Kayla snuck in 2, so maybe we'll give you 2.
Yeah, I think kind of along the same vein as what Kayla was saying there. I'm going to say distractions, maybe choice might be a better way, but you've got so many things that people can do nowadays, whether it's just sitting on your phone at home on TikTok or something, or doing other stuff, going fishing, even baseball games. Fishing's good. We'll give fishing a pass, but
we can't on Hunt Nebraska.
The point
is going to ruin our coding for this episode, Michael. Right there.
The point is there's so many other options of things you can do nowadays, whether it's electronically or travel, things like that. People have options, and people aren't maybe necessarily. There's of course influence from media nowadays on, we just went to our big R3 symposium and saw that nationwide approval of hunting and shooting sports is down across the country. And I'm sure there's no doubt that there's probably a little bit of that in Nebraska too, that, people, they look at hunting and shooting sports and for some reason they say that's not something I want to do. So finding out how to connect with those people and getting them outside, getting them to do more hunting and shooting is the biggest challenge that we're facing. Is how do we make it to where these people want to go do this? Because clearly they want to go do something else right now. So we need to find out how to get them outside and how to appeal to a wider range of folks.
There you go.
I like that. Yeah.
There you go. All right, softball question. The perfect shotgun for dove hunting is?
The one you have.
No, it's the one I'm going to buy. You're not helping out here, Jeff.
He does not need a new shotgun for dove hunting.
Leslie, don't listen to him.
You know I'm right.
I've got a good one. All right, not near adequate, but
I'm going to lead off on this one because this is a big deal to me. And you can go a lot of directions on here, and that's why you might need 4 or 5 to have the best one. But an over-under 20 gauge is hard to beat. Or 28 gauge would be fine too, but I go 20 gauge.
Well, you got to take in barometric pressure, wind direction, angle of the sun. I mean, there's a lot of things to take in there just to pick one at any particular moment. But 20 gauge, not bad.
20 gauge.
20 gauge?
Yep.
All right. You have a preferred action?
Semi-auto.
Semi-automatic. Get that third shell in and spent real fast. Good one for conservation, folks, right there. Shoot that third shell for for the wildlife.
Cha-ching, cha-ching, cha-ching.
All right, Michael.
I've never been dove hunting.
Really?
No,
Well, he's from Missouri.
It's not a big thing down where I'm from. There's not a lot of folks that dove hunt.
You guys have doves, I know it.
Well, I mean, there are doves, but it's not. No, people don't just go out and chase them. We don't, at least to my knowledge, don't really have like up here. You've got dove fields. People refer to them, and we don't really have.
You guys got trees, so you can't really see them that often. It's just kind of.
Yeah, so
It is Missouri.
I'd say we
So what shotgun would you like to shoot and shoot a lot?
20 or 28 gauge.
No,
probably.
there you go.
Yeah.
See, I almost went with 28 gauge because we've got one here, folks, that was donated to our program a while back, and we've gotten it out a few times. It fits me really well. It's an old Remington 1148. Haven't been able to sneak it out to the dove fields yet. However, what I pulled back from is in a really good dove hunt, it becomes a dove shoot. And you go through a lot of shells. The average, I think, Jeff, per dove harvested
Way
is
too
about
many.
6 to 7
Six
shells fired.
shells per
Wow.
dove. Yeah.
And then I start doing the math on what 28 gauge shells cost. And I started thinking, I'm not that good a shot. Going back to what I need to work on this year. Maybe if I really get good and get that down to a couple shells. But that said, I think in there, 20 gauge, probably ideal. I don't always do that because the gun I have and shoot well happens to be a 12 gauge. And I like to get the practice in for upland bird and waterfowl and everything along those lines because it's a wonderful way to get out there. So the gun you have is good, but always be thinking about buying that next gun. Really.
I like the way you're thinking. I like
There you
the way
go.
you're
Something
thinking.
soft shooting out there. All right. Now this is our final one. We are out of time, folks. So we're going to end it with this last question. The message you want all Nebraska hunters to hear is what, Kayla?
Don't let fears or lack of knowledge stop you.
There you go. Be fearless. Be
Fearless.
fearless. The first steps, and sometimes what we perceive as the first step is the scariest. Good point. Michael, what do you got?
I'm going to go with this is a slogan I've seen a few times here at Nebraska Game and Parks. Time outdoors is time well spent.
Oh, safe
Man,
one. That's
company
safe.
man.
That's safe. That's safe.
That's why he's our
Company
partner
line. Yeah,
right
yeah,
there.
yeah. You're smarter than you look, buddy.
Thanks,
you go.
Jeff. I appreciate that. But no, yeah, go outside, experience something new.
I like
just,
that.
Exactly.
Just try anything you do outside is going to be good.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm going to say take advantage of this off season to get ready for the season. Be ready. Don't be like a lot of us are, like the night or two before, like, uh-oh. Remember all those plans I had in that notebook or thought about? Just like, it's one of those things that you want to go in prepared rather than, I just got to go because it's here type thing. So take advantage of it while you can. Jeff, you get the last word, I guess.
I appreciate that. We talked about some of these issues facing hunting, and I think mine addresses some of that. There's so many distractions. It's so hard for people maybe to find that what's really enjoyable in life sometimes. And of course, hunting the harvest isn't the prize. It's the journey to the harvest and the harvest together that's the prize. So share it. Get others out with you. That to me is something that if all hunters would do, we wouldn't be in the problem that we have, and we definitely have a problem across this country with fewer and fewer people going out hunting and shooting sports, fishing, that kind of thing. And so share it with somebody. Help them see that enjoyment. Help them. You know what hunting has done for you in your life. It's provided fulfillment. I've never talked to a hunter that said, by God, I went hunting and I'm less fulfilled. Not the case. So share that. Help others find that fulfillment as well, and you'll be helping the greatest model of conservation the world's ever known.
There you go, folks. Going to put a ribbon on it right there and leave that as our final call. So make sure you give us a thumbs up, subscribe, make some comments down below so you're part of the Outdoor Nation right here in Hunt, Nebraska. Until next time. Hunt, Nebraska, brought to you by your Nebraska Game and Parks Commission.